Alright, what's up everybody? It's your man DGL for DGL Army on Twitch for YouTube. Hope everyone is having a good day. This video, as you've probably seen from the title already, is all about a number, 15 to be exact. Why is this number so important, you might ask? Well, it is the 15th of August, and on this day I'll be showing you 15 games that are all 15 moves. Now, before we get started, I wanted to say a few things. I've tried to choose games where the losing side did not majorly blunder a piece or do something that's completely silly, like, for example, something like, I don't know, something like crazy like this, this is just nonsense, Obviously, you'd have to do something pretty bad to lose in 15 moves, but nothing like this, where you could just take a queen or, something like that. Also, I want to say that the names here on ICC are limited, which means that the names you will see here are not complete. So what I'm going to do is, I have a printout of all the names here on a piece of paper, and I will attempt, keyword there is attempt, to say them all. Give you the names of both players, but if my pronunciation is not perfect, you can always check out the games. They should be in the description. And yeah, that's that. So keep that in mind. Also note that these clocks are also not right. Most of these games are Blitz and Bullet, or not Bullet, excuse me, there's no Bullet games here. Blitz and Rapid time controls, which means 5 minute and above, or 25 or 30 and below. So, but yeah, these times are irrelevant to the ones actually played. If you want more on the time, you should check out the links in the description. Also, I want to point out that we all screw up, we all blunder. During this video, you will see some very strong players overlook, miss things, do simple positional mistakes. If they make mistakes at times, so can everyone. The key is to learn from your defeats and rise to the challenge. We are only human. Now there's my motto for the day. Let's get started to the games. First game we have Iranian D. Burgin versus Fabrizio D. Police. I hope I'm getting that somewhat correctly. And let's jump right into it. White opening with E4. Also note that I'm going to not be going into opening, major opening theory battles. This is not opening theory. We have a Sicilian here. Just, if I wanted this to be an opening video, it'd be a bit more clear. But let's just check out the cool games, right? But I will try to, explain some of the openings a bit, but not to extremes. Alright, so here's the first game. It's a sample. Kind of gets you a taste of what you will see. We have a Sicilian with b5. It all looks pretty normal so far. Bishop f4, and now bishop d6, which is a blunder, which runs into a pretty well-known Sicilian tactic with knight takes b5. After the trades, queen b6. The queen took on d6 here. In castle, and basically white could already win. Funny enough, with knight a7. Queen takes, it's pretty, oops. c7, of course.
Server announcement.
Oops, I should have turned that off, sorry. Thank you, server. So that's what happens with queen takes, knight takes, runs into queen b8. But okay, that was missed. I think, what white did is equally effective.
Check.
With knight a7 and bishop b6, and on move 15, black resigned due to the threat on the queen and the c7 mate threat. Alright. Next game. And by the way, I'm going to try to say the losing side's rating, because I think it's sometimes nice to know that somewhat strong players can, strong and GMs and titled players can lose in 15 moves. It's always good to know. Makes you feel better about it happening to you. Or at least me, for me, Okay. But the black player in this was rated slightly below 2,000 FIDE. But anyway, so let's jump to game 2. Boop.
Check.
Boom. Okay. We have a d4. And we have a pseudo Benko. An opening that I have personally used in Blitz a bit. It's not so bad. It's playable.
Check.
We have the check. c3. Okay. So get a couple moves in. And e4. Okay, that's good. And a4. And black probably should play b4 here, trying to keep lines closed. But he didn't. And he took here. Okay. Knight c4 hitting the queen, and the queen dropped back.
Check.
White took the queen, or the pawn, excuse me. We have knight a5, and the bishop dropped back. So it's already looking a bit bad for black, but, you know, what can you do? We have bishop b5. As I look at my notes here. Anyway, g6 and e5. Very strong, good. Trying to crack open lines. Black is a bit tangled here. Also keeping threats open. Black played knight h5. If takes, bishop takes, queen b6, and knight c4. It's winning. But instead, knight h5 and e6. And black resigned. Note that this bishop on f4 is covered by the queen. And there's various threats here.
Server
on the knight.
announcement.
Thank you, server. You are so helpful. And I'm being sarcastic, by the way. Anyway. So, threats on the knight, f4's hanging, etc. Possible line could be knight takes bishop, queen takes, with a threat on f7. This is still in the position. Black probably needs to play f5. And, yeah, I mean, white can even just castle, right? Let me make sure. Yeah, and just castle. Rook fe1. You know, this is not going, this is the winner, etc. You get the idea. It's pretty winning. Simple. So black resigned here on move 15. The black player's rating here is unknown, but we do know that the white player was 2,500 plus, so, I mean, yeah, pretty good player. Okay, next game.
Check.
Alright, game 3. Let's jump into it. We have a Sicilian with g3. Perhaps trying to get out of opening theory a bit. Perhaps black should already take on f3, getting rid of this dangerous knight. But okay, black dropped back. So it was kicked and took on d4 and c4, trying to crack open the long diagonal. g5, knight to e4, and takes. So black took the knight and recapture. So the knight's just hanging, right? So also, if the knight drops back, this was not played in the game. Queen takes g7, and after the rook moves, just rook e1, simple chess. It's pretty devastating. Anyway, we'll go back. What actually ended up happening in the game was black playing queen b6, threatening the queen, but actually overlooking
Check.
queen to a4 check. And black resigned, because after black reacts to the check, just picking up the knight is pretty good, and winning. Alright. So, the black player was very strong, 2600. I believe that's a blitz rating, but I'll have to see that later anyway. But very strong player, of course. Alright, let's jump to game 4.
Checkmate.
Okay, so you know the game ends in checkmate. Okay. So, let's just jump right into it. E4, C5, a lot of Sicilians here. That was not intended, but okay. Nothing wrong with the Sicilian at all. As I adjust, sitting in this uncomfortable chair. Okay. And we have C3, so something a bit new. Alright. Things get messy pretty quick in this game with C4. Now everything comes with tempo. It's pretty quick. D5, very strong. And D6. So here's the one of the critical points of this game. Obviously something's gone pretty bad for black here. Let's say black plays a nothing move with, let's say, A6. Then bishop G5. Where's the queen going? I think the only way to save the queen is to block with, say, bishop E7, but that doesn't make much sense because it'll just take. So the only other move is F6. And after E takes F6, takes back, queen E2, king E7, or not E7, king F7 of course,
Check.
knight E5, a good shot. Obviously black can't take because of the pin. And, okay, we can look at each king move. King G8, there's queen H5, and queen F7 coming. Not possible to defend that. There's also king G7, which actually is mate in 6, I believe, if I remember right. Bishop
Check.
H6. And it leads to mate. So, anyway, other possible moves are... Oops, I went a bit too far back there, hitting the wrong button. Sorry about that. Okay. Black plays a nothing move. Okay, let's just get back to the position.
Check. Check.
Okay, so king G7, there's bishop H6. When we looked at king G8, the only other move is king E6, and that
Check.
just runs into knight C6 check, winning the queen. So yeah, some nice lines there, pretty good. As I hit my mic. Okay. Anyway, this did not happen, and black played F6. We had normal development in knight B5, just jumping into C7. G6.
Check. Check.
Oops. That went a bit fast. Okay. King F7,
Check.
queen B3 check.
Check.
And taking on F6. Note that if king takes F6, bishop G5
Check.
is just winning. And what happened in the game was queen takes, which actually runs into a mate in 1 with
Checkmate.
98. Alright. So, the black player was 2050 FIDE. So, pretty strong player there. As I turn my pages in my notes. Oh, and I haven't been saying names, have I? Oh no. Well, you guys can check in the description below. But, the second game was Mark Hebden versus Anthony Slinger. Game 3 was Dmitry Andreikin, there's a familiar name, versus Viktor Bologan. And Game 4 just now was Vladimir Okhotnik versus Dmitry Kurka. I need to remember to keep saying the names. Anyway, let's keep going. Again, you can find these names and games and PGNs in the description. So
Check.
here's Game
Check.
5. with another Vladimir Klasan versus Louis Perche. Alright, let's jump into it. So, e4, we have another Sicilian, go figure. e6, and queen c7, so we have a Sicilian Khan. And, the amazing shot knight b5, which is actually quite common in these kind of Sicilians. You always have to be careful of the d6 square, and this is exactly it. It's pretty cool. I've never had this happen to me, but I'm well aware of this kind of tactic shot because I play the Sicilian and I enjoy playing the open Sicilian, so it's kind of cool. It's a good trap. These ideas are good to be aware of. We could see it in action right here. Usually Sicilian players are pretty aware of this idea, but you occasionally get these kinds of nice sacrifices. Alright. So, after knight takes b5 here, what ended up happening, black threw in the check. Let's go back a sec. Queen d8.
Checkmate.
Knight d6 mate is not very appealing. Queen c6.
Check. Check.
With bishop b5 here. You know, it's very good. Also note the rook hang. Anyway, those are possible ideas. So let's go back.
Check.
As mentioned, black threw in the check. b4.
Check.
And c3. And this was more than likely all calculated out. And after c3, queen a5, and queen d4. Also possible was knight d6, but okay. Queen d4 is perfectly fine. Also creating threats of knight here and queen here with mating ideas, so black plays a nothing move, like
check.
With h6.
Check. Checkmate.
Is mate. So that's what's threatened right now with queen d4. Alright. Also note that the rook was hanging. So that was pretty good. That was queen d4 is just as fine as knight d6. Black played bishop g7, which is just hanging. Note that the mating idea didn't work anymore because of the escape square with king f8. But okay. Black gave up the bishop for that because it was undefended. Knight d6 check. King d8.
Check.
Knight takes f7, and black ended up resigning. It's no fun to play. White is just completely winning here. The black player was slightly lower rated with a FIDE of 1780, but I'm pretty sure I'm trying to think back to when I was looking at this game. I'm pretty sure the white player was an international master. Anyway, you can check that out later if you want. Alright, so that was game 5 right there. Alright, let's open up game 6.
Check. Check.
Boom. So game 6 with Ilyas Sodikov versus Vata Oltian. Oh man, I'm probably completely butchering these names, but oh well. I mean, not a lot I can do about that. I am horrible at pronouncing names, you know. Hopefully I'm getting them somewhat correct. Anyway, let's jump right into it. e4. So we have a perk, pierce, whatever you want to call it. Perk or pierce. Oh, and this wasn't... Okay, sorry, I'm seeing things on my notes. Alright, so we have a perk. With e5 taking...
Check.
So... This is a known line. We could go back a sec. Bishop c4 was also an option. Hitting the f7 pawn. But okay, bishop g5 is fine. Bishop e6 prevents that. Bishop f4, or bishop c5, excuse me, and f4. Alright. Takes, and bishop e3. You might be wondering here if e5 is playable, in which case h6 and g5 breaks the pin, and black is still in the game. So white just develops a piece, puts another piece on g5. Good move. Rook d8. You might be wondering again if e5 is playable now, and after h6 and back, black can play bishop g4. If the knight moves somewhere, then g5 is playable. If the knight doesn't move, then you just take it. And if it's protected, you take it and play g5. So, good defensive resources here. Alright, let's jump back. But white has something better with f5 here. And we have this continuation. And e5.
Check.
Rook d1 check, and black ended up resigning. Why? Well, let's get rid of the obvious first. King e7,
Check.
into knight d5, picking up a piece. So, let's go back. King c8 is a bit more complicated, but is still a win. With bishop h3, h5, knight d5 with a mate threat on e7. Rook takes f7, removing the pawn, and also trying to guard the e7 square, but after e6 here, there's no way for the rook to continue to cover the e7 square against the mate threat. So if the rook moves away, knight e7 is mate. And if the rook doesn't move, you're just going to take it. So in other words, this is just winning for white. And that's why both options are losing, and black resigned. Black's FIDE rating, was 2013. Alright. So, let's continue on as I turn my pages and my notes here. On to game 7 between, oh man, this is a long name, Magomed Dzhavathanov. Oh man, what a long last name. Crazy. Against Alexei Saveliev. So let me pop that game up. Alright. Game 7?
Check.
Okay. So, let's jump right into it with, we have a Sicilian and knight e2, which is, I have a funny story about that, which I'm going to save for a later occasion. But, it's the chameleon defense to the Sicilian. I think it's also, there's a version in the Caro-Can where it's like Grandma's Knight E2, has some really cute name. Anyway, this is the chameleon. I'm really curious how it got its name, but anyway. I think it's often played just to get out of theory. Alright. And f4. Note here that the long diagonal is weakened. Something to keep in mind. f6 is a good move, trying to strike at the center. So we had a trade there in d3. Sorry, I had to cough there. Alright, after d3, bishop d6, knight e2, or knight d2, excuse me. Wouldn't it be nice if a black knight could somehow get to e3 here? Yeah, win the queen. Okay, I know, that's complete fantasy, and white will never allow that, but something I noticed when first looking at this game. Okay, so we had knight e7, knight f3, and e5, which is a good move, striking at the center, trying to hit a white's f4 pawn. Good move. Bishop d2, or g2, and alright, and bishop f5, or bishop g4. Why am I screwing the notation now? Come on. It's not that late. I can wake up. Okay. Castle. Castle. Takes on e5. Wait, recapture. And white took. Maybe white needs to play knight h4 here. It's very possible. I mean, it's still pretty bad for white, but maybe that was a bit more resistance. After knight takes e5, queen takes, and bishop f4, which is pretty bad because of the nice shot rook takes f4, which was missed by black. Anyway, let me go back a sec. What was played is queen takes e2. I'm not going to go into why rook takes f4 is better. If you want, you can switch on an engine or something and check that out. But rook takes f4 was a good resource there and was basically winning. After queen takes e2, it gave white a chance to play queen takes and try to, well, I mean, it's still pretty bad for white, but it gives them a chance to fight on a bit. And it's not directly losing. What ended up happening was the white took on d6 and missed
check,
queen e3 check, which caused resignation to white. Simply attacking the queen with check. Yeah, sometimes those backward moves just kind of, you know, they're sometimes hard to spot. So that was a nice game there. Nice and quick. Black's rating here was 2400. Pretty strong. Okay. Oh, excuse me. It was 1914. That makes more sense. Sorry. Juked you there a bit. The white player here was 1914 FIDE. Need to get these ratings right. Because if I don't, well, it's not good if I don't, right? Okay. Next game.
check,
So, game 8. Against Yangyi Yu versus Surya Shekhar Ganguly. Oh man, I know I'm butchering that last name, but oh well. Whatever. I should be able to get these next few names down. Anyway, let's get on with it. We have e4, e5. We have the Scotch. And knight f6, the Schmidt or the knight f6 Scotch. Scotch. Okay. Takes. So this is pretty known stuff. With knight d2, other moves have been tried. b3, g3, it's all been tried. Anyway, we have knight d2 and g6. Knight e4, bishop g7. So this looks pretty normal. You know, how can this go wrong in 4 moves? Well, it was actually a miscalculation here.
check,
Okay, we have the check in the trade. So, after king takes d2, black probably needs to drop back with knight b6 or knight e7, something like that, just retreating the piece. What black did was h6. And, yeah. The black player obviously didn't retreat the knight, and I kind of understand why. You know, let's say knight b6. What ends up happening is the knight gets to f6, and it's pretty ugly here. Something that I can understand black wanting to avoid. The problem with h6 here is that it just doesn't work. I mean, I can't word it any other way. It just doesn't work at all. Because of after taking, bishop takes f1. The move that black missed here was bishop f6, and black resigned. Well, let's figure out why. Let's say that black bishop retreats, as I stutter my words here. That's pretty easy. Just take the bishop. And the more critical taking, the point is that after knight takes f6, it's with check, and after the king reacts, just pick up the bishop, and white will be a piece up. So after bishop f6, black realized his mistake there, and resigned. Note that this is the 2600 that I was looking at from the previous game. And so yeah, pretty strong opponent there. Okay. Let's keep going. So, we're on game 9 here now. Oops, there we go. Okay, game 9.
Check.
Oops. Okay, you got a sneak peek at that final position. Okay. Did you see what happened? Every move? Okay. So, game 9. With Peter M. Gayson versus Stefan Beukema. It's an interesting last name. Okay, I'm pretty fascinated with names today, it seems. Okay, let's jump right into it. e4, e5. We have another Scotch. And, bishop c4, so we have the Scotch Gambit. Oops. And castles, not e5, but just castles. Bishop c5, e5, and d5, which is a common idea in the Scotch Gambit, but it's not very good here, and we'll see why with this slightly changed move order. Takes.
Check.
We have the check. Sorry. I'm choking on something here. Anyway. After taking on g7, rook g8, bishop g5, queen d5, and knight c3, which is a good move. Obviously black can't take the knight because of, weird. I'm freezing here. There we go. Because of taking. Note that the bishop is pinned. Okay, after knight c3, black played bishop or queen f5, knight e4, and bishop e7, which makes sense. Black would love to castle. This bishop is preventing that. It's also a pretty annoying piece. But okay. After taking, knight takes. Queen takes d4. So, knight d5. Now, if knight c6, it's important to note that
Check.
knight f6 is now playable. Note the queen is guarding all these squares, so the king has to go up, and black can throw in this check, and after taking back, then move the queen out of harm's way, picking up a pawn in the process. Note the bishop is still pinned there. Okay. Alright. So we have knight d5. Knight g3, and this was missed by black, I assume. So why did black resign here? It's move 15. You know that this is the end of the game. Well, first off, note, how does the queen defend the knight? Because this bishop is pinned, so in a sense this queen is the only piece defending the knight. And on that note, where does the queen even go? In fact, these are the only squares that are available. And after either one, say, I don't know, queen f4, the white queen can just grab the piece and is a piece up with a pretty winning position. Simple enough. So after knight g3, black resigned. Good game. Let's move on. Oh, and black's rating there was 2295, so pretty strong opponent there. Alright, that fell to a 15-move game. Alright, so game 10, alright? Let's keep going.
Check.
Okay. With Omaira Aybar Portez as the white player versus Paidaishe Zengeni. I think I got that one right. Do a victory dance. I got a name right, I think. I hope. Okay. So, game 10. Let's go into it. So, we have a queen's pawn opening. And after a couple moves, we have the Kali system. And when you hear about the Kali or the London system, you kind of think, how can these moves or these openings, you know, how is this possible that white wins in 15 moves? Well, you know, believe it or not, these openings do have quite a bit of venom to it. They're not as dull as they appear. Okay, so we have a couple more moves. It all looks pretty normal. e4, striking at the center. This is all normal, you know. The knight dropped back. Knight f1 is an interesting move, kind of rerouting the knight. Getting it towards the king. And bishop f8. And for all you people that are, you know, Greek gift fans or whatever, like me, probably saw this position and thought, this is just screaming for a peace sacrifice. The Greek gift, to be exact. And, in fact, it is. Bishop f8 is, in fact, probably the losing move of the game. No, I could say it as a statement, it is the losing move of the game. Because
Check.
of bishop takes h7. Okay. King h8. Note that if the king takes...
Check.
After knight g5, the king has to go back. If the king goes to h6 or h6, we have queen h5, which is mate in either case. Note that the knight is covering here. So the king has to go back, and it did in the game. And... oops, excuse me. It went to h8, as in the game. So... let's continue on. Oh, another point that I should show is that after... here, let's go back a sec. After king takes, another
Check.
point to note is that after king takes, queen g8, there's, if bishop d6, trying to create an escape square, then there is queen
Check.
h7, king f8, and now taking, noting that the pawn is now stopping the king from going up. And maiden 1 is threatened. Knight f6 is needed.
Check.
And after this
Checkmate.
is mate. So that's something to keep in mind. I thought it was kind of cute. Anyway, let's get back to the game. So after bishop takes, king h8 was played in the game. Knight g5. The queen took. Takes. And king takes. And black resigned after taking the piece. Let's go back a few moves. What if black doesn't take the knight? Well then, note that the knight is threatening here with the fork. And queen h5 with a mating attack. And there's no way to stop both. If g6,
Check.
win the queen. So, in the end, black gave up the queen, probably frustrated with the bishop f8 move, and resigned after taking the bishop, realizing he is material down, etc. Alright, so let's continue on. As I flip through my notes a bit. Okay, so we're on game 11 here, on this little adventure. So let me find game 11.
Check.
Boom. So, game 11, the white player is Fabrizio Belli versus Nicolas Papathasiel. Okay, I'm not going to be able to pronounce that one. Okay. Alright. Let's jump right into it. So we have a Scandinavian, something a bit new. And this slow looks pretty normal. Knight d5. A lot of Scandinavian players claim, and probably rightfully so, that when white plays bishop d2 and black responds c6, black is basically saying you have no real good places to make a discovery. So knight e4, knight d5, the queen will just drop back and say that you really didn't do a whole lot. And, you know, maybe this is true here. Maybe I'm a little biased towards black. Maybe I'll admit that. But, okay. You know, after seeing this game, maybe I shouldn't be so biased, because black pretty much blundered in this game pretty bad. Okay, so, but it still looks pretty normal. Black is not lost by any means. And now played, after h6, d5, which is actually not so good, because of the nice shot, which wasn't played, by the way, bishop a3. If taking, queen a1 mate would be pretty embarrassing. Also note that queen takes b2, checkmate is threatened. White would need to play c3, and after takes on d5. Would be a bit annoying. Note this strong bishop. You know, there's a bit of pressure here. It's quite a bit different than what happens in the game. But anyway, as stated, black played bishop e7, bishop c3, and queen g6. And maybe when white played d5, he was sort of hoping that this kind of position would arise, because, you know, of a very simple but very nice tactical sequence. After taking, takes back. White has a very strong move here, and I'll give you a couple seconds. Maybe you'll be able to spot it. It's a pretty nice, simple move, winning material. So I'll give you 5 seconds. Okay, so the nice move is rook takes d7, which caused black to resign. And why is this? Because after taking,
check,
knight e5 check is a fork, winning the queen, material, and the game. So after rook takes d7, black resigned, seeing this. The black player's rating here was 1780, but note, this is the only game I found of this player, the black player here, in the database. So, my database at least. So I don't know, you know, it might have been a provisional rating, I'm not sure, but that's what it says, so we'll just go with that. Alright, let's keep going. Game 12. Alright, game 12. So, here's probably the biggest upset of the video. A name that most of us will all be familiar with. Okay, sorry, I'm yawning. Magomed, who is the current world number 6, believe it or not, as the black player here. And it's kind of nice to know that even top 10 players can lose in 15 moves. So let's take a look at this game. We have d4, knight c6. By the way, I believe this was a rapid game, or a blitz game, I'm not sure, I'm trying to remember. But if you're curious, you could probably check the links below. Anyway, we have knight c6, which is the Mechanist defense, to d4. And now we have sort of Rogozin flavor going on here. Taking d5 and knight e5. And black is already in a bit of trouble, believe it or not. Black played c6. White grabbed the bishop. Played e4. I want to keep going. Let's get a little farther in. And the next move, knight d1. This this whole game, in fact, could probably be looked at in great detail. Oh man, that's a bad one. In greater detail, of course, because, well, it's the world number 6, and this is actually a bit more complicated here than at first sight. In fact, the move knight d1 is very precise and winning, objectively. Note how the knight is covering the b2 square, it is covering the f2 square, so bishop c5 doesn't have as much venom. It also opens up this bishop on the knight. And how does black, in fact, cover this knight? Turns out he can't, and loses it. After knight takes e4, bishop takes a5. Note that the knight is covering f2, very important. After taking, queen a6, bishop takes c4, b5, and d takes c6. And this is completely winning, as I'm about to cough. Oh no. I'm gonna have a coughing fit during a video. That's not good. Oh well. We can get through it. Alright. So, after d takes c6, Magomed resigned. Note that if taking the queen you just recapture, you might also be wondering about b takes c4. Then c7 check. Just look at these pieces. The king has to go up, and the real point is bishop
check.
b4 check will win the queen. So, also note the c7 pawn will probably end up promoting in the end, or just winning material, either way. So, Magomed resigned on move 15, probably one of his worst loss, to be honest. But it happens to everybody. His rating now is 2775 at the moment. So, that was that game. By the way, the white player, this is probably the white player's biggest win, and also one of his best games. I was pretty impressed when I was looking at this. Alright, so let's keep going to game 13. Okay, game 13 is Maxim Rodshitin versus Liu Shangeli. So let's take a look at how this went. So we have a Queen's Gambit declined exchange variation. It's, you know, maybe not the most exciting opening ever, but it's definitely playable. Sorry, I was getting a sip of water there. So it's all pretty normal. Bishop g4, bishop d3. It's all pretty normal. h3 is a common idea here. One idea of these kinds of positions is to castle queenside, play g4. If the black player plays b5, b4, you try to reroute the knight to c5. So h3 is a pretty good move here. Also note that white can, of course, just castle kingside. There's nothing wrong with that, but castling queenside maybe is a bit more ambitious. Anyway, we have f4, which sets a pretty basic trap, threatening g4 and f5, which I'm pretty sure the black player saw. He played bishop g6, and the problem with this is that the original idea of the trap no longer works with g4 and f5, but white can do it in reverse engineering, sorta, with f5, forcing the bishop back. White threw in bishop f4 because there's no way to prevent this. g6 and now g4. So you see the same idea, just in a different move order. Oh man, okay. I'm coughing bad. Wonder if something... Anyway, I can get through it. I will perceive and preserve my voice, and I will get this video done. Okay, this live stream, you know. Okay, so after g4, taking castle, and black just resigned here. Resigning upon castling is kind of rare, and maybe that's what, I don't know, maybe that's what black was kind of rooting for, you know, something you don't see every day. But, yeah, I wanted to show that game just because of that f5, g4 reversing, kind of reverse engineering idea with that trap. The black player was 2,400 FIDE, so fairly strong, of course. Alright, let's jump into game 14.
Check.
So, we have... Oops. Forgot to go back. You caught the last position there. We have Michael J. Yao, or Yu? I don't know. I'm gonna go Yao, because, you know, that's the way my tongue wants to say it. And Douglas McKircher. Oh, man. Tricky names today. I don't know. Okay, let's jump right into it. So we have a ready gone wild. Oh, there you go. Hashtag that. Ready gone wild. Okay. With what do you call it? E4, which is the Listine Gambit. Okay, well, you know, why not? D3. I'm not going to go into the opening here, because, I don't know, some of this is kind of nonsense, some of it's kind of realistic, you know. So I'm just going to ignore the opening here, and just show the position. Knight takes e4, which is a pretty good shot here if knight takes e4, queen h5, yeah, g6,
check,
you know, it's pretty simple. It's pretty self-explanatory there. So knight takes e4.
check,
We have the check in c3.
check,
I don't know what the check was about, to be honest, but okay. Bishop c4 seems normal. Queen e2, setting up a discovery. And, just simple chess. King d8, trying to get out of the firing line. Black couldn't castle, so I mean, trying to make the most of what you can do in a bad position. You know. Bishop h6. And queen d2, which actually caused black to resign here, which I kind of understand. I mean, this is no fun at all. Note that the queen is just hit. Black probably needs to play a move like knight e5 or something crazy. If queen d7, bishop e6. Note this bishop move was very strong, covers these squares. Bishop's covering these squares. And if the queen moves, you know, to the d file, it doesn't really matter where. Let's say here. You could take the bishop. Now you're threatening the queen again. Pretty ugly. Okay, so after this, black resigned. Fair enough. Let's keep going. So last game. Game 15. Alright, let's go. So we have the Cosio defense, or the delayed Cosio defense, which is played quite a bit. I think there's some Smyslov games with this opening for black, but okay. Let's keep going. And this gets pretty ugly fast, you know, which I'm probably could apply to every game here, but you know, it's true in every game. D6 was a nice move. Now knight f7. Very nice. It is good. Very cool. That's why we play chess. Bishop g5, hitting the queen with tempo before snatching the rook, getting another. So white got another piece into play. So, and then taking castle and resigned. you know, black. This is no fun to play for black. King. It's very simple. Oops. The knight, of course. We could go back a little bit just to take a look at just to take a look at if 11 yeah. Okay, this is no fun to look at. Let's just keep. But in the end, castle ended it. Anyway, I should end it now before my voice completely gives out. That's the end of the video. If you're curious about any of the games, each one can be found in the description below. Thanks for checking it out. This was a lot of fun to, you know, put together. You know, if you enjoyed the video, it'd be cool if you left a like or comment or something. It's all cool. I'll be doing more videos soon. So subscribe, whatever, follow. If you're on Twitch. I might turn this into a series or something, because I kind of like these 15-move games. They're kind of short and easy, and they're kind of a nice treat to watch, you know. Anyway, I'm, you know, Dill's Gambit Live, signing off for now. Wishing you luck with your own games, and goodbye for now. Maybe you'll be on a winning side of a 15-move game soon. You never know. Good luck. Bye. See ya. Peace. See you around.